This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about The Blob from 1958, directed by Irvin S. Yeaworth Jr. And the tagline for this movie, it crawls, it creeps, it eats you alive. And the synopsis from Letterboxd, a drive-in favorite. This sci-fi classic follows teenagers Steve and his best girl, Jane, as they try to protect their hometown from a gelatinous alien life form that engulfs everything it touches. The first to discover the substance and live to tell about it, Steve and Jane witness the blob destroying an elderly man and grow to a terrifying size. But no one else has seen the goo, and policeman Dave refuses to believe the kids without proof.
The goo.
The goo. I always think of Rob Reiner in South Park talking about his precious goo.
My goo?
Yeah.
I don't watch South Park, so you'd have to explain that to me.
Oh, you should watch that episode one day. If you really want to watch the anti-smoking episode, it's good. Anyways, so The Blob. Blob I watched not that long ago. For the first time. It always just had been on my radar. It was part of the Criterion. I had not planned on ever doing a podcast about watching the Criterion Collection, so I watched it like a regular human being would do. And I was like, it was always kind of lower on my radar because I kind of expected it's like, it's going to be a 50s sci-fi movie. I usually watch these types of movies, and I'm always like, yeah, it's like a 50s sci-fi movie. They're not like super awesome. You might have some nice moments or effects, but for the most part, they're always set in a small town. A bunch of people find it. There's scientists involved, and there's lots of pseudoscience involved. People get devoured off camera, ungraphically, and fun's to be had. They're like matinee movies. So when I watched it, again, a few years ago, I thought this movie was like, okay. It was like inoffensive. It didn't do anything wrong or anything like that. It wasn't super like interesting at the end of the day. But I thought it was okay. And so watching it again here, I pretty well feel the exact same way. I'd even say that I might not even like it as much as I did, because maybe when I watched it, I like overliked it, as I think some people might do, because, well, it's a Criterion movie, so it's going to be a little bit more worthwhile. But that's not the purpose anymore of this podcast. It's not to like overlike things. It's be like, is this movie actually good or not? And I think like we're getting over that hump of like, initially maybe we like movies a little bit more because, well, it's Criterion. So, but this is like, now we're like, well, let's talk about this thing. So at the end of the day, I think The Blob is. It belongs in the Criterion Collection as far as like being a movie that is an example of this period of time. It's unusual, I guess, because it's color, whereas like a lot of these movies, like kind of through the 50s, through the early 50s to now in 58, were black and white. So this was shot in color, and it's actually got its production history is a lot more interesting than maybe even the movie is. Did you read anything about this movie's like background?
Nope.
Okay.
Educate me, son.
Okay. So initially this movie was called The Molten Meteor. The director. So here's some notes here from one of the essays that accompany this movie. The director, Yeaworth Jr., was a minister in the small town of Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, where the film was shot. Yeaworth built his special effects in a room of the church building where presumably God oversaw the disappearance of Matt Lyons. At many points in the finished film, The Blob is blatantly oozing on top of photographs of the previous scene. Where is he here? So yeah, essentially Jack Harris wanted to make a movie, and he wanted to like make, and he saw, hey, science fiction movies make movies. They played Matt in like drive-throughs and stuff like that. Kids like this sort of stuff, but like these sort of movies were like on the wane. Like Hollywood wasn't really making this stuff anymore. Like it was trickling in and out, but it was harder and harder to just like say, hey, I got an idea for a Martian picture, and people were like, here's some money. Now it's like, well, if you wanted to make something like this, you'd have to like dig down. So this movie was like essentially made by religious people trying to make a commercial success, like, and just to do it. So that's like just a real broad strokes look at the history of the Blob being this sort of like the first kind of like an early example of like regional filmmaking, which would like blossom into like something like Carnival of Souls that we've watched, or something like Dawn or Night of the Living Dead, or something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is these movies that aren't being made in California, just being made wherever in America with cameras and enough people getting together to just make a movie. So I guess another thing that jumps out immediately at this movie is like the wacky opening credits music.
Oh yeah, that song, the theme song for the Blob,
the Burt Baccarat song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I always like forget is like in this movie. I always think it's like, oh, it came out afterwards. It's sort of like this like funky little song that people like wrote because, oh, remember that Blob movie? Let's do a song. It's like, nope, that song was made for this movie and to open it up. Even though like it's like the goofiest part of the movie, because like the rest of the movie is done pretty straight faced. So like I could see someone walking into this and thinking like, this is gonna be light and breezy, right? And it's like, no, it's like pretty like much like straight up sci-fi monster movie. It's not like campy or anything like that. Not intentionally campy in any case. And here we have one Stephen McQueen playing a guy named Steve.
Do you think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that Steve McQueen was kind of a prick, and do you think that he just didn't want to go by any other name? He was just like, I don't care about this movie. Fucking call me Steve.
He did not care about this movie. He took his $3,000 paycheck in cash. He could have accepted royalties on this instead, which probably would have been a better idea.
Probably.
In hindsight, because this movie did turn quite the profit and became a popular movie over time. But yeah, that's about it. Steve McQueen was not really proud of this movie probably for a very long time. Like most actors aren't with their early stuff when it's like horror genre stuff, because they want to become real actors. In my mind too, I always have this like thing of Steve McQueen where I think of him and I think of Paul Newman. Like Steve McQueen is definitely one of my least favorite of like the old dude actors. Like when you have like him or Clint Eastwood or Paul Newman, I'm always like, meh. Steve McQueen's like nothing special. He's kind of he has like a
chump?
bit of I think we talked about this way back when we talked about Magnificent Seven in our Seven Samurai episode. Where I was kind of like, he's just a guy. Like he doesn't like bring anything special forward. Like he just he has like a look to him, but character wise, he's never like super memorable. So anyway, the Blob, I guess like just I'll hand it off to you. But this movie's
did you say whether you liked it or not?
Wow, I kind of said that like I liked it, I think, less than the last time I watched it.
Okay.
I don't hate this movie or dislike it. I just kind of am indifferent to it.
Sure.
It's just like, I don't know. It's a movie. What do you think, RJ?
It. Well, as you said, you watched this for the first time and you're like, yeah, it's a Criterion movie. It's a sci-fi horror movie. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you know this, Jarrett. I don't know if I've ever brought it up on the show before, but I like aliens.
Yes.
And I like alien movies. And the 50s and the 60s were rife with alien movies, some would say.
Invasions and whatnot.
Invasions, probing, abductions, all that good stuff. So I have seen Blob-esque things. I have seen the remake of the Blob, which we'll get to.
Yep.
I have seen the Blob parodied many times.
Yes.
Much like in X-Men Origins Wolverine, that classic Blob scene.
I think my first introduction to the Blob might have been Muppet Babies.
Yeah. See, so it's everywhere, man. It's a cultural phenom.
Yeah.
So I know what the Blob is, but I've never seen this old one, and I threw this on, which was yesterday, but what felt like a Sunday afternoon for me.
Yep.
And Sunday afternoons, Jarrett, I believe, I've cracked the code. Sunday afternoons are the best time to watch 50s sci-fi movies.
Yes.
Everything's right. The lighting is right. The feel is right. You're tired. You feel old. I liked the Blob, man. It didn't change my life, but I actually had fun watching it. I thought it was pretty cool. I think I'm kind of like you, where if I watch this again sometime, I might not like it as much. But first watch, man, I liked the Blob. I thought it was wicked. I think the Blob is cool. I think for whenever this movie came out, they did a good enough job on the special effects It's just like this corn stretched out taffy stuff moving around, which I thought was nice. I kind of like I'm a fan of that 50s atmosphere, that 50s vibe, because I'm with Stevie King. That's the era I want to live in. So I think I'm a little biased when it comes to to things like this, because I love the 50s, I love aliens, and I like these sci-fi horror things.
Sure.
So this is exactly the kind of movie that I like, and I did. I think the effects are pretty cool. I think the story is, for the most part, like, I really like the idea of just this, like, thing crashing, and it's like has no shape or anything, but it just consumes, much like the Star Wars fan base. It's just consuming all the time, Jarrett.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, there was never really any time that I doubted what was going on in the show, because like the cops, like, I feel like they're pretty reasonable. The one guy's like, let's see if it's true, and the other guy's like, nah, these kids are just fucking with you. And I was like, yeah, I buy that. And then the other kids are like, come on, let's go to the spook show. And I was like, that's fun that they call it the spook show.
I do believe he talked the midnight spook bit. And then he talks about unprotected ladies, and at which point he like makes this like weird like kind of rub of the arm of the Jane, Janie girl, which she does not like to be called.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that time era. It's funny to watch stuff like that from now. The only real problem I have with this movie, Jarrett, is I don't know how old these kids are supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure Steve McQueen is like 84 in this fucking movie.
27.
And he's playing what, like a 15-year-old?
I feel like he's like older than the other kids.
Yeah. I thought they were as old as the cops and the parents that they were talking to this whole movie, and it was really off-putting. Even the bullies, that bully's got like real thick 5 o'clock stubble. And that's the only other thing I didn't like, because they were like real mean to him at first, but then they have a change of heart really quickly.
Yeah.
Where they're like, all right, let's go hang out. And I was like, well, I can believe that. But then later on, when he's like, there's this Blob, and the other bullies are like, you nerd. But then like the main bully is like, let's hear him out. Don't be a weirdo. He's like, we got to believe this kid. But maybe that's just thoughts of a better time.
Sure.
I liked that Curly from City Slickers had an appearance in here as the man who first gets eaten by the Blob. I think that dog, I wrote down OMG, that dog, because when it's like there's a dog in there and they open the door and the littlest, most quiet, slow dog comes out.
Little pupper.
And I was just like, oh my God, I can't handle that.
Oh man, that was some like RJ, like this whole movie is like RJ manipulation too, because there's like so many like moments you're like, oh fuck, the dog stopped barking, he's dead, and they're like, oh no, I just saw him running down the street.
Yeah, and then he's there, and I thought they did a good job with that. I don't know if it's protocol for cops to smell the barrels of rifles just dead on. He's like, this has been fired, and the cop's like holding it up to his eye. He's like, I don't know. So that guy's a bad cop. But I thought the ending was really cool. I thought it was going to go the dark way, which I guess you're led to think at first, like where it just consumes all the people, and you're just like, oh shit. And the dog's in the house too, and that little kid's in the house, and you're like, God damn, this movie's dark. So I thought that was good, but no, man, I like the Blob. It's like I said, I think I'm biased because this is a perfect mix for me. 50s era, sci-fi, aliens. So it's not great, but I'll probably watch this again. This will be a classic grandpa movie for me, where I embarrass the grandkids. Is like, you guys want to watch the Blob? Or maybe the 80s Blob will take that shining achievement.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like in reality, it's like, okay, you'd watch the Blob, but you probably only watch that movie once, because there's so like, if you want to get like a taste of like 50s sci-fi, there's so many other, like there's so many movies you could watch that it's like, why watch the Blob again when there's like, you could watch I Married Alien from Outer Space or something like that, or
make me a list. I'll watch them.
There's a bunch, like, well, the one I watched this October, the Monolith Monsters. I think that movie's actually better than this. It looks cooler. The monsters, it's like way more kind of like, it's a very ssimilar idea of people getting absorbed, but it's like, but it's not like gooey. It's just like, oh, this like unrelenting sort of mineral thing. Yeah, I don't know. There's like there's a bunch of different 50s things that you could probably watch if you're like in the mood for this. And again, perfect like Saturday, Sunday matinee fare, like where you're just like, yep,
Right.
this is inoffensive and easy watching, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's not like super memorable though either. Like most of the stuff I remember about this, it's like watching it again. I'm like, yeah, this one was in color. Everyone's got their shirts tucked in and their pants are at the proper height. Unlike nowadays, everyone's like all the ladies are like just like look like they're out of like magazines, like out of like a clothing magazine. You're like, yep, everyone looks exactly proper to be photographed and not like, I don't know, scruffy in any way. Nothing's out of place. But I'm trying to think. Let's see. What can I talk about this movie? Old man in the woods pushing that stick into the goo. I think that bit is like really interesting. Like because it's just a shot of like a stick pushing into goo. Because I think like when you see something like that, you kind of want to like put your finger into it. For some reason, you're just yeah, you see this like Jello, and you're just like, oh, I want to ruin that or like cut into it and just see what happens. And you're like, oh, you get that thing, and then him like with his stick with the goo running down. It's like kind of like a physics thing, I guess, like where you just see like the tension of stuff rolling down. You're like, oh, because you don't want stuff to touch your hand either, though. Like you're like, oh, but then when it jumps into your hand, you're like, oh crap, I got like goop on me, but then it stays, and then it eats you. That's cool.
Well, it's goopy, you know. Like, you ever seen that goop?
That goop?
That goop? No, I know what you mean. Like,
no.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm a little bit biased for this one because it's the kind of movie and the kind of thing I like watching. I know it's not great, but, you know, I had a fun time watching it. I would watch The Blob again.
Yeah.
Not this year, but another year.
When you're in your grandpa years?
When I'm a grandpa and I'm going to embarrass my cat siblings. And
So,
you know.
So RJ, do you keep driving when an old man with weird blob on his hand comes running out of the woods?
You hit the gas. That's what my old man grandpa taught me.
Yeah. So the colors in this movie, because I talk about like this movie is shot in color, but it is a very like peculiar color palette. Like this movie like only deals with like a handful of colors, or it's like blue, red, and like kind of like this sort of in between stuff. But there's like the one bit that is like super weird looking in this, and it's the driving backwards race.
Oh yeah.
Where like the streets are completely black because it's being shot on a studio, and it's just blackness, and then it just looks off in like a weird kind of way. It's particular, I think, to this movie. I got my note here about this midnight spook bit and unprotected ladies. And then yes, there's the dumb nurse, dumb doctor, because they're just like really they're really frustrating, and it's like they could die and I'd be fine with that. Yeah,
that's how it goes, man.
And I don't even remember this. It's like I only watched this movie yesterday. I hate Mrs. Porter so much. Okay, so she's like she's like the doctor's like neighbor or like secretary. She's so horrible because she has like every time the kids are like this happened, she has an answer for it, and it's like explains away everything. You're like, wow, this is just like the most dramatically killing thing you could have is this sort of person, which is just like to set everything back to ground zero instead of like keeping the story going. And I was like, oh, I hate everything about this character and this type of person in real life, where it's like, well, this is the reason for it. No, then it's like, oh, shut up.
You know what that reminds me of? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like that kind of fucking asshole.
He's poo-poos.
I remember when Force Awakens came out, and he was like, well, you know, they couldn't do this stuff, right? It's like, no one thought they could. It's like, this is a fucking made-up movie. Like, why don't be an asshole. So he strikes me as that type where he's always, like, trying to, like, stick it to people. It's like, well, this is how it really works. It's like, yeah, I don't care.
No.
Loser. Nerd.
So what did you think of Steve McQueen's performance in this movie?
Felt like he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's pretty stiff in this and doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. But I don't know, Janie girl, she's like does nothing either. Most of them just do nothing. The other teenagers, they're like rambunctious and whatever. They're teenagers in a sci-fi movie about invading a small town, so that's fine.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like the other actors, I like the good cop. I felt like he was trying, but no, it seemed like Steve McQueen just didn't care. He was like, I don't fucking want to be here, so I'm gonna look like I'm thinking?
Yeah.
But just kind of just kind of like,
So yeah, there's what kind of like kills this movie for me a little bit though is there is a whole lot of spinning wheels and hand wringing from like basically when they get to from when they get to the police station onto when everyone sneaks out of their family houses. There's like nothing that goes on. Like there's like where's the Blob? Why don't we see the Blob? Why isn't the Blob killing people? Why isn't he like why isn't the Blob doing stuff? And it's just like lots of like talking. Oh, I don't know if I believe those kids. I don't know. It's like okay, like,
yeah,
we don't care anymore. We know there's a Blob. Show us Blob stuff. It's like I guess that's a limit though of like a small budget.
Probably yeah.
Yeah. And then yes, here's my note. I feel like this movie was made to fuck with RJ with the ongoing little dog story, or it's like the dog is in just like constant peril.
Yeah, that's what I thought the whole time. But I'm glad that he made it out, and he was the cutest little dog, Jarrett.
Yeah.
The cutest little dog.
Yeah. All those smiling faces of the people running in terror from the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just like, because clearly, like, okay, everyone just go run out of the theater screaming. And then, like, they're just, like, having, like, the funnest time, fleeing in terror. Like, just big smiles. Yeah. It's like, wow. Like, there's a lot of people smiling. Like, no one got the note. Okay, when you run out, like, look scared.
Scared.
Like, they just said, run out screaming, and everyone's like, this is fun.
Yeah, I noticed that, too, because there's one moment where you really notice when the cop's, like, almost at the doors, and this big guy walks by, and the big guy just has the biggest fucking grin on his face. He's like, I'm in a movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of people smiling in that. Like, he's just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. One of the things I enjoyed about this is like people throwing things at the Blob. And they're like, oh god, this isn't working. Throw this like axe at it. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, the axe is going to really hurt the Blob. And people shooting the Blob. It's just like, okay, well, that's not going to work either. Come on.
Yeah, I find that always funny because even in like, we'll get there, but even in the remake, they like know this thing like you can't fucking hurt, and then the guy's like, let's give him a piece of our mind, and they all shoot it. It's like, that's not gonna work, dude. You know that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, so then, also I think like the climax of this movie really falls flat. Like when they're all trapped in the diner and they're just like, it just goes on and on and on. And it's like, where's the Blob? Why don't we see the Blob? Where is the Blob? And then it's like, here's like a matte painting thing of a blob. And it's like, oh. Yeah.
Jarrett, the Blob is all around you.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor. We're the real blobs.
No one says that at the end. All they say is now that it's frozen, they're going to take it to the Arctic as long as the Arctic stays cold.
Foreshadowing.
What's fun is I think like all three essays that I've read on the Blob from the Criterion website, they all make a comment about like, look, isn't that ironic that like in 1989 when the first essay was written to 1998 to like a few years ago with the Kim Newman ones, like, oh, the Arctic's gonna melt. And it's like, oh yeah, we've all known that for like 30 years now, and here we are, and no one seems to care at the end of the day. We're all going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but maybe some people say we had it coming.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you know that producer Jack H. Harris of The Blob, he also produced John Carpenter's Dark Star, getting John Carpenter's career running?
I didn't know that.
Now
is Dark Star good?
Yeah, it's interesting, but not good, I would say. I don't think it's good, but it's pretty like it definitely feels like a bunch of like university dudes who are like, let's make a movie. Yeah. And it's like a sci-fi, but who cares? And we're just going to hang out in like this set that we created ourselves. And it's a movie. Mm-hmm. That's the type of thing it is. I don't know if you would like it at all, but
I don't like anything you recommend.
So, well, this is not a recommendation. This is just, hey, you could watch this movie if you want. No. You know what is not a recommendation, though?
What's that?
Beware the Blob from 1972, the sequel to The Blob, a spiritual sequel, because it picks up with, it starts off like as a blaxploitation comedy with, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. So this movie is directed by Larry Hagman, who is like most famous as being JR on the TV show Dallas.
Oh yeah.
So he directed this movie, a one and done. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who's like, God, it's not Dynamite. It's like he's like some like comedian, like black comedian from like the 70s on some TV show.
Dynamite?
Oh,
Is
God.
it Dynamite?
No, but I'm gonna see if I can figure out who it is because it's just like whatever. This movie is garbage. It sucks. It's free on YouTube if you really wanted to like check it out. Maybe it's Robert Walker.
No, I don't want to check it out.
No, this is like bad. Like it's like a comedy. It's kind of like that. It's like something that like was like a 70s thing where like they're trying to be like culturally irreverent. Where they're like, hey, this movie's got hippies in it and they're dropping out. But what are they going to do when they meet a blob? And there's references to like eating and like, oh fuck. I don't even want to talk about this movie too much. It sucks. And I see like most people all watch it and they go, this is terrible. And I was like, well, it's probably not that bad. I'm like, oh no. Like I watch a lot of shitty 70s things and like there's like some merit to it. This is just like the worst type of 70s filmmaking. Like if you want to watch like the type of movie that I hate, watch Beware the Blob. That would be kind of like the only thing I could tell you about this thing. Because I just zoned out at one point. And it kept going because scenes just keep going. Now, the one thing, this movie starts off with footage of this kitten, this cute little kitten in the grass. And it's just like footage of this kitten. And in the notes or in the credit roll, it mentions that like the animal sequences were all shot by Dean Cundey, who is the cinematographer for John Carpenter from like Halloween on. And so he just shot all this footage of this little cute kitten. He's like rolling around in the grass with this like fucking horrible music. It's like this bad synth music by this guy it's by Mort Garman. It is a bizarre movie that like nobody watches or talks about for a very specific reason. Originally it was also, I think it was gonna be called Son of Blob or Son of the Blob, which kind of tells you what type of movie this is. Because what happens is it starts off as this blaxploitation thing where it's like this guy just got back from the Arctic and he's got this container with blob in it and he's keeping it in his freezer because he's dumb. And then they like set it out and it starts thawing and it eats a fly and then it eats the kitten. Very like off camera and like it's just like, oh, the cat's gone.
Still,
whatever. But it's like, oh, funny, I got the kitten, and then it's just like a bunch of bullshit for like an hour and a half. That like no one could possibly care about this thing. Terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it, but I actually saw in the tagline, it's like no one is safe. Kids, kittens, and then like something else, and I was like, I'm not watching that fucking movie then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it blows.
Yeah, it sounds like it blows, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what doesn't blow? One of the best fucking movies ever made.
1988's The Blob, directed by Chuck Russell.
Ooh, baby, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
You tell me about it. You were the one who brought this to my attention a long time ago.
Yeah. So. I remember, so my first experience with this 1988 Blob was as a kid, as like, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that. And I saw the movie poster for this. Maybe it was like this, the VHS case, but this movie scared the fucking shit out of me because it's just like the cover is just this man completely encased in fucking red ooze and he's screaming silently, and I remember being like, that's like the scariest thing I've ever seen. I never want to watch this movie because I don't want to die. Like I'm afraid that, like, I don't know. And it's like it goes even to like the Larry Cohen's movie The Stuff, which is also a movie about goo that like kills people.
Not as good though.
It's not. No. The Stuff isn't as good as The Blob, but Stuff is interesting and kind of a neat movie. But yeah, it's no Blob for a couple of reasons. But so this is a movie like I always just like this movie kind of freaks me out because I just like you can just look at something and imagine ooze coming out of it, and like it always happens is people don't see the ooze, and it's like they're doing something normally, and then in the background right behind them there's ooze dripping down, and you're like, oh my god, get out of the room. So that freaks me out. This idea that you never see it coming to absorb you into itself, which is like, I don't know, it's creepy. So when I finally did watch The Blob, it was kind of like when I was I'd watched The Thing and I watched The Fly, and I was like, man, these like 80s remakes of horror movies are so goddamn good, where they're better than the original.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I should watch that Blob. And so, like, a few Christmases ago, it would have been, Lawrence was house sitting Corey's house. And we were over there, and I think Corey had this on his PVR. And I was like, hey, we should watch that Blob. I've heard it's pretty neat. And we watched it. And yeah, this movie is a little bit more than neat. It's like the story is whatever. It's dumb 80s horror stuff. Like, it's nothing special. It's a retelling of the Blob straight up. But the special effects are like some of the best special effects you could imagine for like a Blob movie. So the Blob is different. It's not just a gelatinous goo. It is like a tendrily kind of organy, lumpy mash thing. It's far more biological than just like a ooze is. But yeah, I'm a big champion of this movie, just from like a special effects standpoint. Like, if you want to watch like great gore, watch this movie. And one of the other things too is like, so I kind of made a comment, like, I don't think much honestly of the story of it, like, because it's just like, it's taking the tropes of like a 50s sci-fi movie, but it's like kind of making it contemporary. But what's really nice about that is because you expect that it's going to be just another, like, oh, it's just like a genre movie. You kind of know exactly where all the characters are going to wind up, who are going to be the last people standing. Oh no, it completely says fuck that, because like you're like, oh, the football star guy who's like kind of like, he's like a sweet guy who's like kind of falling for the cheerleader. You think he's gonna make it? Nope, he's like the second dude dead. And then it just kind of keeps going from there. We get Jack Nance, who just like shows up and you never see him again. So that's rad.
So as I said, I think, I think the reason I watched this was because I watched The Stuff one year, and you're like, hey, you should watch The Blob. The Blob is like The Stuff, but good effects. And I was like, all right, I'll watch The Blob. I believe I watched it on a Thanksgiving a couple years ago, which is the day you watch The Blob, because you feel like a blob. Yeah. And Andy watched this with me, and she actually really liked it as well. I think the 80s Blob is amazing. I think it's super good. The effects are crazy, unbelievable. Like, every way you would, like, I'm going to be repeating some of the stuff you said, but don't matter. Yep. Because this movie deserves praise. Every like way you would want to see someone die from a blob, you do. And it's like the most like innovative, like unique death scenes you'll fucking see in movies. And this is the reason I love horror movies. Well, you say I don't like horror, but this is the reason I like good horror. Yeah, it kills a person like every 10 minutes. There's tons of horror scenes or death scenes. It's always like people fucking dissolving and like trying to get out of the blob.
Various states of dissolving.
You see various states. You see their skin like melting away. Guys get sucked through pipes, like bodies just crumpled,
smashed in a fucking phone booth. That one is so like
that one's
crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that one is awesome. And so some of the reasons I like this movie, other than just the effects, is kind of like what you were saying. I actually liked the storyline because I like that 50s stuff, even though it's an 80s one. I still liked it. I like seeing Kevin Dillon with his fucking mullet running around. But I was gonna
say the Kevin Dillon mullet thing is like, I kept thinking that there was like another guy that shows up in this movie that, like, I remember when I first watched this, kind of like was like, oh, this guy's so annoying. This guy's just like, what a dumb character throwback thing. But then like I kept waiting for that character to show up in this, and I was like, wait, I guess that's just Kevin Dillon. And like in my mind, I created another character, and I'm like, no, it's just him. And he's like nowhere near like as like standout, weird, annoying as when I watched it the first time. Or I kind of just like, oh, what a dumb character. In this, it's like, no, he's cool, he's good. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like Kevin Dillon in this too. But so I like this movie for a lot of reasons. I think the jokes are actually pretty funny. Like with the pharmacy guy and the condoms.
Oh yeah.
I thought that joke actually had a really good payout. But I think this movie does a really good job, like what you were saying, like it subverts like your expectations a little bit, where it's like, there's a high school quarterback, he's going to be the star, and he's dead in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, horrifically.
And you're just like horrifically, you're like, holy shit. And then there's the guy who's like the rape guy. and he's like funny, but you're like, wait a minute, is this guy gonna rape that girl? But then he gets what he deserves, and you're like, oh yeah, see, look, the Blob is teaching you, don't rape people.
Yeah, that's
So
like
fucking
that's the
you'll
hilarious.
die.
That's the moral of the story is
Yeah,
you
don't
don't rape that
rape
girl
people.
because she might. It's not because it's the wrong thing to do, but she might be like
She might be a
blob.
blob. Yeah, she might be a blob. Yeah, there's that, and then shit, there was something else I wanted to say. It was in that same kind of thought line there. I think the ending to this movie is amazing. I love that. I think it's so fun. Like that's I know you hate that word, but I do. That movie is or the way this movie ends. It's like yeah, take that. You're like, what's gonna happen? Oh yeah, this movie's got balls, man. This movie kills a little kid in a horrific death scene where the little kid is melting and screaming.
There is no way anyone saw that coming either. Like
no, because the first time we watched it, me and Andrea looked at each other and we were just like, holy shit. Yeah. She's like, did they just kill that fucking little kid? I was like, well, he was annoying. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, this movie's got balls, man. Like just killing little kids and in pretty graphic detail as well. Yeah.
So the other thing I guess we haven't mentioned is like, so this movie was co-written by one Frank Darabont.
Yeah, I saw that.
So Frank Darabont, it really clicked with me watching it this time too. It was like he is a Stephen King fan because this movie actually feels like super Stephen King. It actually at times feels like kind of like The Mist, which Frank Darabont went on to direct 20 years later. But like it kind of wants to circumvent some of the Stephen Kingness where it's like characters are kind of protected until it's their time, and he's like, no, I'm going to kill them off now. Like the sheriff, you think the sheriff's going to be the last guy around? No, he's just going to die off camera, and then you're going to see the result of him as soon as he gets brought up, and it's like kind of like darkly funny, but at the same time it's like, oh fuck, they just killed the sheriff, and then now this poor woman they were going to go on a date, she's fucking dead brutally. There's like, and the reason why it clicked with me this time is like, so there's the priest character, and like when he like takes his whole turn, it's very reminds me of The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, which I don't know if you've seen yet.
No, I've never seen that.
It's like a Roger Corman movie. It's got like kind of a very similar final beat where a character like kind of starts working in a traveling like kind of like carnival show revivalist kind of thing because he can see beyond time, and it's like all these people start showing up to like see him, and he's gone beyond. It had that kind of vibe of like a Corman movie where it's like the story doesn't really end ? Which is how the 58 Blob ends, and here in the 88 one it has that kind of like, was this real? This isn't really the end, you guys. Things are going to get even worse, even though it's like, well, we know they figured out how to stop it. Like it's got to freeze it.
I like the it's the suggestion, Jarrett.
Yeah. Oh no, I like it too, but it's like very like that Frank Darabont, Stephen King anti-religious thing, which is always good to throw in there, and like maybe the religion's the real bad guy because prayer's not going to save
hero,
us. Yeah,
depending on how you want to look at it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. So that's awesome.
Any other coolness you wanted to bring up on this Blob?
No, I just I think you're right. Like. This movie deserves a lot of more recognition than it seems to have. Like this movie's pretty good.
I think it's got a revival going on. One of the problems is that the Blu-ray, which I've got, it came out from the shittiest company in the world, Twilight Time. They are the inverse of Criterion because their whole they release movies. They don't really put any work into the restorations themselves. They just kind of lease them out from studios, and then whatever they get sent, that's what they release. They put like almost no money into special features, and when they release them, they limit them. So you can only get them for like as long as there's like 3,000 units. That's it, and you can only get them exclusively from them. You can't get them from any other outlet, and they're really expensive. They're like they're always $30 US. They never go. There's no 50% off sales. They're just expensive. It sucks. I hate Twilight Time, and they put out the Blob and they let it fall out of print. So I'm glad I got my copy. I mean, inevitably, hopefully somebody puts this out again because this movie's great. Like a Scream Factory, like a company that actually likes horror movies, or like any like a number like Arrow, anyone else other than Twilight time, because I think like actually one of the German companies that puts stuff out, they did put this out on Blu-ray, and I think they actually included Beware the Blob, which is garbage, but like at least they put some effort into like putting more things on there, because like the Blu-ray of this is like an interview with Chuck Russell after a screening at Cinefamily, which is like now like Cinefamily, which is now closed because a couple of the people running it were perverts. So that's good. Yeah. And some trailers. Yeah, but yeah, no, Blob, just like, if you love practical effects, this movie like has those in spades. It's up there like this and like Return of the Living Dead Part 3, I think are like totally like high watermarks of like 80s special effects. Where like, and even like Return of the Living Dead's like from the 90s, it feels like totally in line with the Blob.
I think that's actually good. You watch, if you ever wanted to like dazzle someone, you give them a double header of those two fucking movies, and like, if that person wasn't just amazed with the special effects, then you don't want to be their friend anymore.
I agree with that.
Return of the Living Dead 3 is awesome, but man, I like this Blob.
Yeah,
I like that Blob, Jarrett. It's so good.
Why isn't this part of the Criterion Collection?
It fucking should be.
Yeah.
You know, if we've mentioned this a lot, but if I was in charge of the Criterion, things would be a lot different.
We know.
There'd be a lot of Maverick. It would appear more than one time. It would be Spy number 4 and number 12. Why? Just cause.
Okay. So I think we all can agree on that. But hey, RJ,
yes.
let's bring this home. Who hates 1958's The Blob? Yasuka gave this half a star. This film might be the worst film that I have ever laid eyes on. I have never wasted God's name so many times in my life.
What? What does that mean?
I guess when they watched it, they just kept saying, Jesus. I guess.
Settle down.
Kino Fist gave this half a star. I don't understand why this movie has lasted. It has unintentionally funny moments anytime an adult character says kids around Steve McQueen, I chuckled. But its pace is too
lugubrious?
Yes. Thank you.
Is that what he was saying?
Yes.
Oh, what a chump.
That it never becomes enjoyably bad. It's definitely not scary. Instead of creating horror in appreciable ways through like clever framing and moody cinematography or putting interesting characters in a nightmarish situation, the filmmakers simply point a camera at a thing and play loud music. The film could have been rescued by a cool monster design, but the creature is just a massive gelatin, possibly the least scary thing I could think of. The movie almost saves itself with a nihilistic, downbeat ending, but it lacks the conviction to go through with it, ending with a last-minute rescue. If anyone asked me for a good example of 50s scary sci-fi, I would point them towards Them, which has great special effects and works decently as a film overall. I completely agree. Them is actually a really cool movie, and like way better shot.
Do you own it?
No, because the one thing that sucks, the unfortunate thing with Them is when it came out, there's like a 4-pack, and it's on Blu-ray, but they've stretched it out, so it's like 16:9, even though the movie's supposed to be like 4:3, like full frame. So it's really frustrating because it looks goofy stretched out. Anyway, so yeah, Them is way better than Blob, and that would be definitely like if you're gonna watch a sci-fi movie, and it's about giant insects or giant ants. Nice. It's really cool. One more here, 1 star from Erica Sorensen. So it's a creeping red menace threatening wholesome white heterosexual small town Americans that can only be defeated through literal cold warfare. If the unsubtlety hadn't already existed, the Blob would have invented it. It's a shame there's so little of the Blob until the end. Most of this film is comprised of Steve McQueen, a 27-year-old man at the time of filming, thoroughly embarrassing himself attempting to play a teenager. I can see the cult cheese factor but that's really all it's good for. The riff tracks has never done this so disappointing.
What does their sexuality have to do with anything? What does it matter that they're heterosexual?
Because that's bad. It's bad, RJ. You gotta read your newsletters. You gotta be caught up on these things.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever. It's like 50s norms. It's like it didn't really come up. I don't think that was really a talking point. There's like I think there's like the only time sexuality even was addressed by creepy dudes And like when Steve McQueen's making moves, he's like, Janie girl, and she's like, don't call me Janie girl, call me Jane. He's like, oh, okay, I didn't want to make it uncomfortable. That's about it.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a good message though, right? Like it's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, the Red Man is Cold Warfare. Yeah. I mean, that's like a big talking point of like 50s sci-fi is it's all about like invasions and whatnot. But hey, actually, we'll be one day with our Laserdisc movies, we'll be watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which in some ways is like one of the better ones because it plays both sides potentially.
Are we? Sorry, go on.
Well, we got multiple readings on that.
Are we gonna watch the Nicole Kidman remake when we watch that?
Well, we got lots of options because again, we're talking about remakes. We got the Invasion of the Body Snatchers 70s remake, which is actually a really cool movie. We've got the Abel Ferrara Body Snatchers movie, which has actually got some really good. Not as good. It's in the same ballpark as the Blob as far as like special effects, but it doesn't quite hit those crazy levels. But it looks really good. And then there's the Nicole Kidman one, which I don't think anyone likes. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe that'll be the time to do it.
Nice. Yeah, we're gonna watch that movie.
Well, in between, this is like we're talking about it now, but there'll be High Noon will be next, and then we'd have to watch the High Noon 2 movie.
Hey, who's in that one?
I can't remember offhand, but I think it's like Walter Hill directed too.
Aish. All right, you got any more hate for this movie, or have we determined that the Blob is pretty cool?
Blob is fine.
I know. Yeah, Blob is fine.
Yeah, fine. It's there. Oh, you know what?
What?
Did you know, RJ, that there is a new Blob that's coming out eventually?
No,
yes,
come on. It won't be as good.
2018 Blob, directed by Simon West, director of Con Air at one point. You want to hear? Want to hear a quote from him?
Sure.
With modern CGI, we can now fully realize the potential of the Blob. The world I create will be totally believable, immersive, and emotionally satisfying. It's a thrill to introduce an enduring icon to a wider audience and a whole new era of fans.
Totally believable, huh?
Yeah.
I guess he never saw the 80s one then, hey?
Well, this article is from like 2015, and yeah, I'm sure that was like before people realized that movie's really cool. Oh, and do you remember that at one point Rob Zombie was going to make the Blob remake, like in 2010? But apparently after Halloween came out, he like was just tired of people complaining about him making sequel or remakes, so he's like, fuck it. He just lost interest in doing it. So
good.
Yep. Alrighty. Can you? I can only imagine a Rob Zombie Blob.
It would have tattoos and like a mullet, and it would like beat its Blob wife.
Oh,
it'd suck.
Come on, you Blob motherfucker, come at me.
God, good times.
Awesome. Okay, that's enough, I think.
Yes, I think this was a long episode.
After the break, RJ and I will be going to the theater looking for some of those unprotected ladies.
Oh. God, you make things